Coming up, we'll start as usual with a quick statement and open up for questions.
Well, for everybody else, week one, it's our week two. So a little bit unique position going into Indiana. They got a chance to watch us on Saturday, and they've had some turnover on the staff. But the thing that I appreciate about Coach and the way he's done things, he does it his way, and that's why he's had success. And I know they got a tremendous chip on their shoulder to do some good things this year, so we're going to go into a hostile environment. I don't know what the crowd's going to be at, but we're going to prepare for it to be loud and crowded, so we'll put in good diligence of work week. We came out of it, I think, fairly healthy. We have two guys that we're still waiting on. We actually have guys that'll get some information further today from testing. So Josh McCray, I know that he won't be with us this week. I just don't know the long-term prognosis to where he's at. And Sean Miller has an appointment today at 5 o'clock that we should gather some more information. So those two guys really the only two that'll be out prolonged in the fact that they won't be with us this week. Everybody else got through it pretty clean. Isaiah was just a cramping issue. He was cleared to play to come back in, and we just didn't want to do it at that point. And then really that's it. We had a couple guys do well on both sides. I thought for the number of guys, not, like you take Julian Pearl, right? He had started for us on the right side at guard and tackle. He never started at left tackle. He's starting next to Isaiah Adams, who had never started a ball game at Illinois, who's starting next to Alex Pilstrom, who had never played a snap at center, to sitting next to right guard Zy Chrysler, who had never played a game here at Illinois. Palcho was the equalizer. He's had like 88 career starts at right tackle, right? So he brings our average up. But that was like kind of a microcosm of that game. You see Tommy DeVito, who has played a lot of football, but he had never played one snap for Illinois. His first handoff was a big run. His first pass was a touchdown. So there's a lot of positives on the offense side of the ball. I thought really on the outside to see the development and improvement of Pat Bryant was probably one of the neatest things for me to witness and watch, but also Hightower, with a couple great catches and just being a good player in a good moment. Isaiah was really being effective. Unfortunately, his biggest catches and statistically his biggest numbers were ones that got called back because of penalties. So he had a good day, could have been an exceptional day statistically, but the leadership that he begins with, Isaiah Adams, if I could sum it up in one word, he just amazes me every day. We have a team prayer when we sit down for breakfast in the morning. We all collectively get together 4 hours before, and I'll just open it up, and he said some things that I just think moved the room just in an exceptional way. So just continues to impress me with his leadership and diligence. Defensively, again, kind of the same thing. Zeke and Seth had played a lot of football, but really at the end of the season as starting outside linebackers, Keith and Johnny, but we had new noses in there. Calvin had played, but we saw T-Raw and RJ. Three inside linebackers that played a lot of football. In the back end, I think you saw Quan Martin take a huge step in the way that he can play the game. Spoon as well. So really, really like the growth of the room. And then really, Caleb Griffin, even though you want him to see him maybe convert on those two field goals, he hit the ball extremely well in the kickoff. Hugh was really, really a valuable resource for us in the punting game. And the snaps, although we can have room for improvement, there was really good things there. So we should have big improvements. We always say as coaches, you make your biggest gains from week 1 to week 2, and we hope to have that. Indiana, it's kind of another step with what Wyoming was, right? They have had a lot of turnover on the offensive, defensive, and special teams units, a lot of new players coming out of the portal world. The added element at Wyoming was we kind of knew who their coordinators were and what they were going to do, but offensively and defensively and special teams a little bit of a constant at Indiana. But two new coordinators, don't know exactly what that is going to be. So a lot of Friday is going to be, about the ability to be aware and adjust during the course of the game and handle the moments. But we'll start. We actually started last night. We changed our Sunday routine up to kind of minimize the amount of transition time, even though it's a short week by theory because we're playing on Friday. It hadn't shortened our preparation. We got a couple days of spring preparation. We had 3 days of fall preparation on Indiana, so we're actually walking into a Tuesday tomorrow at practice ahead of where we would be in a big way by multiple days in our preparation. So hopefully that's going to pay dividends. So with that, open it up for questions.
I know it's only one game, but how has the offense and Barry's schemes and whatnot met your expectations that you had when you hired him?
Well, I've said this before, right? Like as a head coach, I have expectations, but I think and I hope that our players' expectations are even higher. And I think that's our offensive personnel right now. Barry Lundy included, right? So Barry, I didn't have a great moment to kind of have a couple words with him after the game. We had recruits in town, and it's just kind of crazy and all that goes into it. So I had a moment Saturday night when I got back, and I reached out to him, and I just expressed my gratitude for the work that he put in to have that day happen. And his response was, "Thanks, Coach, but we're going to get much better in the next week," right? Like he is constantly thinking like that. I think you see the potential that Tommy DeVito has, right? Tommy's a very accurate passer, very, I think has a great understanding of how the game's flowing. And, some of the best things he did Saturday are actually negatives on the stat sheet. He got rid of the ball when he was in trouble rather than taking a sack. He did some things that he didn't force the ball into. One of the stats I was very happy with, he was only on the ground one time, which is actually on the touchdown throw because they ran a D tackle in late, so he wasn't in protection. I believe, I made a big issue to him. I said it in front of the team, like, let's keep our quarterback upright, right? That's got to be a big deal, and it'll be a key factor in this week's game. But when we got Tommy, I remember sitting in his living room with his dad, in his basement actually, and his mom, and he had been sacked 86 times in his 2 years at Syracuse as the main player, right? 86 times. He got hit once on Saturday. I think when you keep a quarterback on his feet, there's a lot of good things that can happen. So I'm excited about that. Chase Brown just continues to, prove to us how special a player he is. Very, very talented, but now he understands the offense. Some of the things that he does instinctively have grown even further. And then what we did really well on Saturday was we blocked the perimeter. If you look at that very first play, Chase does a lot of good things. There's some things at the point of contact. But Pat Bryant blocks a guy into the boundary about 18 yards downfield that literally allowed the run to turn into an explosive play. And then Chase, I just urged our guys to continue to trust the process to strain, because if they'll strain and give him one more step, Chase can break a lot of arm tackles.
Josh, do you feel better knowing what you know now about him down the road? Do you feel better right now than
You mean that I did Saturday?
Yeah.
And not one way or the other, to be honest. There was obviously some indications after the game, but I will say his spirits were very good yesterday, but we're waiting to gather all the information. Josh has been through quite a bit before we ever got eyes on him, but his last 6 months in our program have probably been his best 6 months. He's changed his body. He is leaned up, was really, really good in his composure during camp. If he's with us next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or 2 months from now, whatever it ends up being, I have confidence in what he'll be. He's got a lot of bright days ahead of him. We just got to help him get there.
Repeatedly that you were doing Wyoming and Indiana prep during preseason training camp. When you're doing that for like Indiana, do the guys know we're doing Indiana prep, or
Absolutely.
are you just doing stuff and they'll eventually know that this is for Indiana?
No, I'm pretty diligent, and when we're prepping for people, we prep on the person. It's nothing that hadn't been done before. We exposed them last year during bye weeks. We prepped on upcoming opponents. So, yeah, even last spring, I would say, hey, we're doing an inside versus Indiana here, right? So this is Indiana's projected defense. This is Indiana's projected offense. I believe we were about 13 days out from game day, 14 days out from game day, and we did a 2-day window of Indiana, and they were very clear because we go into meetings and show them film on that. And again, no one knows what Indiana is going to do, right? It's an educated guess on their coordinators and their past experiences, and just following them through social media. And Coach Allen, he's a very high energy, motivated guy. Like you can hear the phrases they've been told and the way they're going to play. So tremendous respect. We recruit against them quite a bit. They're into Florida as well, so we pop up against Indiana in recruiting battles quite a bit.
Could you comment on the game that Quan Martin had and just his progression over the last 2 seasons in your first 2 years here?
Yeah, I think I've said it to you guys a couple times. Fumble. I have said, right, like you could just literally see the progression that he is having. again, Ryan Walters is a really good defensive coordinator, but I think that the part I learned to appreciate in the development of Kirby Joseph last year is just how good of a DB coach Ryan is, and I think Quan, through Ryan's leadership in the coaching world, has really learned to pre-snap key read. He's a very explosive player. I think it was last December we were down in Florida recruiting in January, and I went to his high school, and his coach showed me a clip of him playing basketball. And I was just like, holy Toledo, his explosiveness, his ability to jump out of the gym. Quan is very unique. He probably has the ability. I just visited with NFL scouts earlier today. Everybody wants to know what position you project him at. And I think after being in the NFL, I could see Quan being evaluated at 4 different positions, at star, boundary, field safety, and both corner spots, right? So, I really think he brings a unique skill set that isn't very common.
Played out on Saturday. Do you guys have a chance to maybe dial back some of what you showed on the field, or is that not in your line of thinking?
Anything that's not out there remains a mystery, which I think is a good thing. I would say that, the way the game started off, there was this emergence of okay, this is offense, and we kind of they did some good things. I think that it was very evident that they answered some things that we had in plan, and then we had to make some adjustments. It kind of went back and forth. I love the way our coaches had to work during the course of the game. I thought they really handled the moment of adjustments, and it's really not what we know as coaches. It's what we are able to relay to our players. So the third quarter, I thought we made some adjustments offensively, which was good. And then defensively, the same thing. They kind of, did some different things we weren't expecting, had anticipated, but didn't know for sure how it was going to play out. So I thought there's a lot of positives to Saturday, the growth during the course of the game. And to me, one of my keys to victory as a head coach, the first key that we had was start fast, finish strong. And to have as many players play in the fourth quarter effectively as they did, that really shows me that they're listening and are buying into the coaching.
What's the benefit? Now, Indiana's seen tape on you, but you had a game. How do you weigh those?
Yeah, the two different price tags, right? The first is, there's no doubt in my mind, I learned this as an assistant coach working with young players. Most young players have the biggest gain of the entire year from game 1 to game 2, just within a week, because they see things for the first time. They understand the pace of play. Gabe Ackas, I promise you, he did a really nice job, but that tempo was coming at him. Well, this week it's an up-tempo team, right? So Wyoming was huddling. Now he's got to get ready for that moment. Matt Bailey, a lot of young players, right? Matt came in and did some stuff. That first INT bounced off his hands. I promise you the next one he probably catches it, right? Like just little things along that guys make big strides. For the value that Indiana has on us, that's a question for them, obviously, but anything that we put out there on film is something they can gain on, right? Like I made this point emphatically to our coaches yesterday, right? Like just like we're preparing a scouting report on Indiana, they're making one on us, right? So any tip, any tell, any significant thing that we show them on film, we can use that as an advantage or a disadvantage to our preparation. The difference is they got to make that call, right? So it's a tremendous challenge to our coaches and one that I think we'll be ready for.
Saturday, you were able to get live game reps for Chase Hayden and
Yeah.
Reggie Love. Is there a level of excitement of what you saw there and what they can do going forward?
Great point. Everybody wanted to talk about Chase and Josh, and they deserve it, right? But as a head coach, Chase Hayden is a very unique soul, right? Chase is the only kid that's played for me at both schools. He played for me at Arkansas, he played for me here. And the reason I went after him when I got here was I saw a young freshman do things for me at Arkansas that I thought were going to be special, right? And he broke his leg. One of the most vivid memories I have is here's a young man that was carrying the ball for me as a true freshman at Arkansas, literally broke his leg, stood up, and walked off the field. Like, that's not common, right? Like, he's got grit, fortitude. Now, I don't know how intelligent it was, but I don't think he knew it was broken. But, like, I just know there's something in him. I know his mom and dad. Aaron played in the league a long time. I've known the family. I know what's inside that young man, and I'm excited to watch it. So Reggie Love has probably been one of the more, for me, more personable, enjoyable relationships I've built with a player since I've been here. Obviously, he came from St. Louis. He knew CP quite a bit, right? And then Reggie's gone through a couple things off the field here that have really, defined you as a human, right? And I thought, Saturday when that opportunity came, him and Chase were in the back, and I went up and slapped them both on the backside and just said, hey, here's your moment, right? Like, this is what you've been wanting. It doesn't matter how it came about. This is what you prepared for. And both of them went out and did some good stuff. And Reggie's play there at the end was pretty awesome. I had some fun with Reggie at the end of yesterday's meeting. If you want to ask him, he'll share it with you. But Reggie's a very well-liked player on the team. Chase is a little bit more reserved, Chase Hayden, but both of them, I think, guys were excited for.
kind of rebuilding that offensive line, lack of game experience. How valuable was the first game to get under their belt, and do you anticipate it's still going to take a little bit longer before they're gelling as a unit?
Yeah, I think 5 guys that dance together, it takes a hard time for that all to work, right? And those guys made a step. I thought Jordan Slaughter came in and did a phenomenal job. Couldn't be happier for him. The journey that Jordan has had from last fall camp to get to where he is now has been awesome. But also a guy like Zach Barlow. We got Hunter Whiteneck in there, Josh Kreutz. You saw Geske get in there, right? There was a lot of really good moments there that took place, but I think those 5 offensive linemen, and I'd throw Jordan into that because he may not get to start, but I see him as a starter in our football team. And you get 6 guys, and Jordan's very unique, so Jordan can probably play from tackle to tackle, and not a lot of guys can say that. He could play center, guard, and tackle, and that's very unique. So I'm excited to see him continue to grow and that growth overall.
Last year, you noted that Josh McCray probably wasn't ready the first week, and you held him back and you went with him the second week. Are there players you're kind of evaluating the same way this year of like, it'll take a little bit, but we'll get him there?
Yeah, Robert, I would say a couple goes jump off. I think we'll have Aiden Lawfrey this week, right? So I didn't think he was quite there last week. Kind of same position, 2 different type of backs. Josh, I knew the physicality was going to be the strength of his game, whereas Aiden, I think his speed is going to be the factor. So I'd be excited to see Aiden possibly get out there. We had intended to play Sean Miller and Hank Beatty, but that catch that Hank made it across the middle, like I've been watching that for 3 weeks. I heard Spoon on the sideline. I had my headset back. I was talking to someone, and Spoon emphatically said he knew he was going to catch that one, right? Because Spoon's only known Hank since he got here in the summer, but he's learned enough about Hank Beatty that he's going to make that catch. So there's certain guys, I don't know, besides Aiden Lawfrey, nobody on offense. The only guy defensively you didn't see the line of scrimmage was James Kreutz. James will get in there as much as I can get him in there. He's a head coach. The head coach really likes James Kreutz in there. So that news is spread in the building. Really, that's probably it from Xavier Scott, I think, will get in line of scrimmage for us this week on special teams and defensively. So I think there are a couple guys, but no one that probably is going to jump out as much, Robert, just because Josh, I knew when he got in the game, he was going to hand the ball, so that draws a lot more attention.
You think you'll keep rotating Chase Hayden, Reggie, maybe Aiden behind Chase Brown, or do you need one of those guys to step into Josh's pick?
I think any game that I've gone into as a head coach, you need 3. You need 3 and you love a 4th, right? So we went into last week's game, and it was obviously Chase to Josh, and then the dilemma was who goes in next, Chase Hayden or Reggie, and it was situational. If certain things happened, it was going to be Chase Hayden. If certain things happened, it was going to be Reggie Love. Now the case in point becomes, this week during the course of practice, pretty safe bet that Chase Brown's going to be the first, right? And then it goes to one of those 2, right? And then I'm going to tell you, Fadangelo has done a really good job as well. So Aiden Lawfrey's in the mix. So it'll be a situational decision, one that gives Illinois the best chance to have success. But I love watching social media on years past in my system or in our program, and I distinctly remember watching. There was a highlight of the Nebraska game. I might even mention last week, right? But the number 1 running back in that game was Monty Ball, who's a good player. His backup was a guy by the name of James White, and his backup was a guy by the name of Melvin Gordon, right? And all 3 of those guys are phenomenal players. I think that's where we're getting in this program is we're just going to keep developing and bringing and recruiting players that fit that type of system.
I don't think there's anybody depth-wise there that can do what Josh McCray can do.
No, Josh is kind of a unique animal. He's very physical. He's got speed. He's got burst. Really competitive. I think that there is probably Jordan Anderson esque. I don't know if Jordan's quite there yet, but we're definitely going to give him an opportunity to show us some things this week. He took over a scrimmage, a developmental scrimmage, in that last week of fall camp. That was pretty impressive. So very excited about Jordan and his future. Just don't know if it's right now.
What did Calvin Avery show you on Saturday and kind of the most snaps we've probably seen?
Yeah, Calvin, I've told him since I've gotten here, right? Like I coached D-line in the league. Like, I've been in an NFL camp where, he's better than players that I saw, right? But just because you're better doesn't mean you're productive. He plays a very critical position for us. He's in the middle of our defense, right? If you play well in the middle, it goes further and it keeps moving further away from the ball, the better you'll have a chance to be overall. So I think if he can be the good him, we got things stepped in the right direction, but we can't have, we can't have inconsistent. We got to have good, steady production. I'm excited to see him practice this week. And I tell you, T-Raw had a good start to the week for us, as well as RJ. So I feel a lot better about that nose position than I've felt in a while.
Coach, we talked to Tommy DeVito in the postgame. He said he was often going through his progressions and getting down to the fourth option. What'd you see on film? Were there some shots you could have taken downfield, or did he make the right call?
I don't know if shots would be like, there's some things like, to me, a shot is a deep ball, right? Basically, the way Wyoming was playing us at the corner position in particular, they were off the line of scrimmage, which is not what we had, they had shown a lot more press in years past. Now, it was different personnel. They weren't going to let us just take the ball down the field. So I think that element was there. I think that Tommy would tell you there's definitely some things that at the line of scrimmage he could have engaged in, but also the way the game was going and unfolding. I think Tommy DeVito wants to win games, and he didn't want to put his team at risk, so he made the decisions that he thought was best at that moment. He is so coachable. I can't say enough. Art and him both, right? They're just truly awesome to work with on a daily basis. And I think Tommy will have a significant amount of improvement in a short amount of time. Not that Saturday was bad. It just he's very driven, very on task, and you combine that. It reminds me. I've said this several times to people that, like, I had a quarterback on my past who was a transfer in, and it took him a while to get used to playing the way that we wanted to play. He reverted back to what he had learned at another school, and the more Tommy continues to understand how you play quarterback here at Illinois in our system, I think you could have something really good in a short amount of time.
Right, you're in a unique situation where you played back-to-back Week 0 games. Yeah. Is there anything that you took away from last season that you can use this year to help you going into Week 1?
Yeah. Last season we followed it up with a loss, right? So I'm not going to ignore the obvious, right? Like last year we couldn't put 2 back-to-back weeks together to win games, and that's been a tremendous challenge and calling for us since we got together. To play on the road in a Big Ten environment on a Friday night is everything I think you could dial up as a competitor. I'm excited for that growth. I do like Week 0 games. Obviously, the AD gets to make the final call, but I would love to play a Week 0 game as much as you can because of also having the element of 2 bye weeks. I just think the value of being fresh in today's world of college football, and I know this is only our second year, right? But as we continue to develop our roster until we're a little bit more complete in our depth, I think the health of our roster is as much as important as X's and O's.
We lost some good players from last year's defense, really good players. This year, what you've seen after a game, does it look like this defense could be as good or maybe even better than last year, or is that too early?
Yeah, it's probably a little early, but I do like without a doubt, I don't think there's any doubt, Bob, that we feel really good about the guys that were with us from a year ago, how much they're better. I promise you, Johnny Newton is better than Johnny Newton last year. Keith Randolph is better than Keith Randolph. Quan Martin is better than Quan Martin a year ago. Sydney is better than Sydney. It was awesome. Like, I know a lot of you guys know Jay Lehman. So Jay was our guest captain last week, right? And, I'd obviously competed against Jay, right, as a player. And then I got here and I got to know him as more than kind of a Big Ten analyst. He's in our community. His daughter and my daughter interact in some dance classes. I think he's about as excited as I am to be there. But it was really cool for me to hear him talk to our team. And he said something at the end that really jumped out to me. He was challenging our guys about being in an opener and, put forth a lot of really good thoughts. And at the end, he said something that I thought really made a lot of sense. He goes, if last year's team played this year's team, who would win? And it just, it was a simplistic moment. It gave me an insight on why he was probably such an incredible player, as he thinks very well, right, and talks about the mental aspect of the game. But it literally, for the rest of that night, made my mind think about that, right? And I think, I love last year's team. I love the guys there. It's not any. I do think that this team, overall is, I think, an improvement from a year ago, which is what I stress on a daily basis, right? I don't know how many wins that's going to mean, but I do know that our guys understand and appreciate and can do what we ask them to do better than we've ever done it before. And that was reinforced by players. I had several texts and guys reaching out to me during the course of the week that were former players, some of them in NFL camps, right, that they've talked to our guys and they know what they've heard and they're excited to watch it.
How much credit does Ryan Walters get for where you are defensively right now?
Ryan Walters get for doing that?
do, yeah, how much credit do you?
Well, me and the AD would tell you get about $500,000 more credit. I don't think Ryan looks for credit in this world, right? Ryan Walters looks to get better every day, which is why he is where he is, and at some point we'll put him in a position to be a head coach. He is daily driven. Like he came in today, and we have this thing we call 3 keys to victory, and it's not an X's and O's, it's not a scheme, it's not a technique, it's a mentality, and he has more concern about that than he does about a third down call, because I think he understands the importance of capturing a young man's mind, and then his personal relationships. Not just with defensive players, but with offensive players, special teams players. I see his intensity during the course of the game, his demeanor. Ryan is a very good football coach beyond a coordinator. He's a tremendous person.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.